Hi, Sarah Masha here with Scarlet at the Historical Society. Now, in light of the fact that the Westminster Dog Show this weekend is at Lyndhurst, I decided to look up some of the information that we have on dogs and dog owners here in the Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow area. And I found some really kind of fun stories and sad stories, interesting things. And looking down at the table here, you can see we have a newspaper that actually talks about one of their interesting stories. In town, we had Jeff, who was the Washington Engine mascot for many, many years. Well-known figure in town, but unfortunately, poor Jeff was killed one day racing to a fire when he got in the way of another fire engine on its way, and he was killed. So it was a very tragic day that day. For better stories, we have some great stories in town, including looking over at this group of photos right here. And this group of photos is of a lot of St. Bernards that are in town. And we're not really sure who this individual is. And we're doing some research on these photos right now. But I do have a great St. Bernard story. And that is that Frank Gould at the Lyndhurst Estate, Jay Gould's son, was actually, around the turn of the century, one of the people who championed St. Bernards and raised several St. Bernards. In fact, he even built a kennel on the estate that's still there today. And I believe in the champion cup for St. Bernards is called the Gould Cup. So that's just a little story about the Goulds. Now, some other families that were involved in raising dogs and bringing dogs and popularizing some of the breeds here in the country is the Rockefeller family. Now, from 1934 to 1940, John Rockefeller Jr. actually imported about 8 bull mastiff dogs and introduced them and really popularized the breed here in the United States. He was actually using them for protection, and these bull mastiffs would basically patrol the property up at Kykuit on the evenings all night long and protect the families that lived there. Several of his sons actually had bull mastiffs at their own estates as well. So that's their story. Moving on to some of the other things we have here to show you today is we do have a collection that shows a lot of really interesting photographs of dogs and people in the community. This particular image here is the firemen at Hope Hose with their mascot and all of her puppies. And it's one of my favorite images that we have here in the collections. We have several other older images. The oldest one that we actually have is a daguerreotype here of a dog from the Knapp family and we have about several daguerreotypes from the Knapp family, so they obviously wanted the dog as part of the family, from the 1850s. Now, the other 2 images are just really cute dogs in the collection. As a matter of fact, this one is even labeled here, so you can see it with the dog's name. You've got Ned and you've got Curly. That's Ned and that's Curly. So one last thing before we go today is I want to show you one of the fun things we also have is from 1834. This is actually what's called the dog's tax list for 1834, and it lists everybody in the town of Greenburgh and what they were taxed to have their dogs. And several of them, were paying about 50 cents per dog. Some of the dogs, is very interesting, are $1.50. So I'm trying to figure out what's the difference in price. Several people had, 4 or 5 dogs, and so they would pay considerably more than those who just had 1 dog. Now, this is for all of the town of Greenburgh, but I did notice several names from Tarrytown that are in here. So it'll be interesting to sort of match them up with who lived here and who had dogs from that time period. So this is actually a really wonderful document that we have from 1834. So that's our dog stories for today. Thanks, Scarlett, for hanging out with me, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a great week.